All right, 7:01, let's get going. We'll call to order the joint Green Efforts Committee for March 7th, 2023. Let's see if there's, I don't think we have any public on there, but we'll give it a second for public comment.
I don't see anyone under attendees.
Okay. Then let's move on to some administrative stuff. Can I get a motion to approve the January 3rd minutes?
So moved.
There a second?
Sure.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 All right, motion passes. All right, and can I get a motion to approve the February 8 minutes?
So moved.
There a second?
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, moving on to public education goal, the anti-idling. I read through the minutes. I know that I guess we're still talking about printing for the signs, right? Does anybody want to give an update for that?
Yes, I've got one. So Kate contacted a printing company. The signs cost about $28 each. There's 8 signs in total, looking to get 2 of each, so a total of 16 signs. So the total cost for the signs is $448. And then the cost for the breakaway posts is another $850. So it's a total of $1,328. I would rather be safe and just round up to $1,500 even. So just a motion to expend $1,500 for the purchase of printing of anti-idling signs and breakaway posts.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there
I'm
a
gonna
second?
second it.
All right, perfect. Any discussion? All right, just one quick question.
Yes.
Have the locations all been, have we had a chance to talk to the school district, Sam, and where these locations of the town, have we nailed down exactly where these are going to be going?
So I know we're going to put one towards the front of where the parent pickup areas are. For the second sign, we're not sure at this point. We'll loop back on that. But I'll also coordinate it with Public Works when we go to do that.
Okay. Any other questions?
I was just, I'm curious about the budget source for this kind of expenditure.
Yep. So Green Efforts has an account that accumulates over time. So it's, if the funds don't get expended, it just builds up, is my understanding. So I believe last I checked was about $38,000 in the account. So the expenditure of $1,500 is fine. We've got plenty of funds in the account for that.
Yep. And Jennifer, this is Patty. For my understanding is that this fund accumulates at a much lower rate than it used to. It's based on the town's take from that it gets from direct energy plans that were years ago, predates my time on the commission. Maybe John has more information. But it, for everyone that signed up, for the residents that signed up through direct energy, the town got a percentage. And for the folks that have stayed on whatever provider they chose at that time, the town is still getting some small portion of that still.
Got it. Thank you both.
And is that the only source of revenue that goes in there? You know, Garrett?
I don't know. That's because I'm not involved in our department's budget. I can check and find out.
I was told, Johnny, that was the only source, but it's probably worthwhile to confirm it.
Yeah, I'll reach out because I don't, I know we went through a budget season last year, but there's millions of budget line items. I don't
It-
ever remember seeing one for green efforts, so.
Right, it's not covered in the town council budget.
Okay,
So there's no green efforts funding coming out of town council. It's definitely through the recycling, or sorry, the direct energy. What I don't know is if any of the I don't remember what the state is of the simple recycling contract. At some point, they were paying the town pennies on the pound for what they picked up. I don't know where that money got allocated.
okay. All right, Garrett and I will follow up then offline and we'll dig into that. That's a great question. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Just any more discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none. Thank you. Let's move on to item F, simple recycling update. Garrett.
Yep, so sorry, should shift that over a little bit. Total for December was 2,802 pounds. Total for January was 870 pounds. And the total for February was 750 pounds, bringing our total to 63.25 tons or 126,500 pounds since the program started.
Okay, thank you, Garrett. Any questions?
I have a question. When I look at those numbers, it seems to me that this year things have gone down considerably. Do we have an explanation of why that is happening?
I don't. It could be that people had, we know that definitely the first year was the highest total, and then it kind of diminishes from there every year. And that's been the trend for the past 3 years that we've done this. So it's probably people have less accumulated in their house now, or people are regularly clearing out, and they might have clothes that are either in good enough condition to be donated. The main point of simple recycling is for clothes that might not be in ideal condition, or I mean, clothes can be in fine condition and still be picked up. That's more utilized, but it's clothes that are in poor condition that end up getting recycled as opposed to being reused. That's probably, I mean, it's bound to go down over time. I know obviously April of 2020 was when there was a pause, and then they started up again in May, and that was pretty high. I'm sorry. Yeah, we had 2 to 3 tons consecutively for several months on end, and then it dipped down again afterwards. I mean, you look here, August of 2021, we only had 823 pounds, which is the second lowest total, or third lowest. I'm sorry, no, second lowest. Sorry, trying to look at a bunch of numbers aside from that COVID pause.
Yeah, and
But if
I
you
have
take
to
a-
imagine.
But if you take a look at February, it's gone down, but it's gone down considerably this February. And the program has undergone a change, and it used to be people put pink bags out on the side of the lawn next to the recycling cans, and people pick them up. And now people have to take the positive step of calling people to make arrangements to get them picked up off their porch. Is that the cause of this decline?
It could be. I was gonna, that was gonna be what I asked, because I do think it's around then. We don't have any control over that, but
Right, I can check when they started doing the curbside pickup, or stopped doing the curbside pickup and started doing on demand. But that probably has something to do with it, that
I think it was in the summer last year. Because I remember someone telling me how easy it was to schedule, but
right, and if it was over the summer, you look at August, or I'm sorry. Yeah, you went from about 2,000 to 3,000 for the spring, and then at the end of the summer, you had less than a ton picked up again in September, and then dropped down again. I mean, you can kind of see that, I mean, there's kind of a trend that it follows throughout the year, and then, each year, aside from the anomaly of this December, apparently, or December of 2020, it kind of has like a flow to it where February is lower than January. There's a break off for the spring, and then it picks up again during the summer.
It's kind of a hassle now, and you have to remember, and you have to be dedicated to it, so.
Could it also be, when something first comes out, there's a push, there's a talk, there's a buzz. And then now, after a couple of years, that starts to fall off a little bit. Is there any way that we could message that and, easily?
Yeah, I was supposed to write something for the newsletter and I got really bogged down right around the time it was due and I didn't get a chance to do it, so I apologize.
Do you think that maybe if we, at cleanup day, we had just a little sign and some kind of stand that just talks about it, something like that? Is there any way that we can remind people? And a newsletter obviously would work, so we can work on that.
I think I still have access to the Green Efforts Facebook page. I can post something there too.
I mean, we could always write something. I can check with Rose Ponte, our economic development, and Amanda in the town manager's office to see if we can get something on the Explore Farmington page. Or maybe for like, I was gonna say March or April, but it is March. Kind of like a spring cleaning thing. Let's see.
So one thing I was thinking about was that the firm that picks up all this clothing, are they at all concerned with a drop off? And if they are concerned with it, do they have any suggestions how we can bring it back to the other levels?
Yeah, that's a good question. At what point do the pickups get small enough that it's not worth them doing it?
Maybe Garrett, just by having a quick conversation with them, I'm sure we're not the only place that they do this for. Maybe they can give a little insight to the trends. Is this something that's happening in other towns, or is it just here? Is it a messaging? At least if we get like it's been slowly, consistently dropping off, at least we know we're not doing something different or wrong. Maybe getting a little insight like that for the next meeting would be great.
Yeah, no problem. I can reach out to them and see if they can give some information. I mean, it's a pretty large program, so I'm assuming they've got some kind of tracking to see their trends.
Yeah, they've got national reach, I think, or at least
Right.
at least east of the Mississippi, somewhere in that range. Because I think I think they have something in Ohio. So
Connecticut, Dallas, Fort Worth, Greater Houston, Illinois, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, and Ohio are where they are.
Good. All right, perfect. We'll get a follow-up on that. All good questions. Any other questions before we move on to the next discussion on composting? Okay, moving on. I know Kate is not on. Do we have any more updates from the school program? With Miss Wynn, Kim Wynn?
I wasn't aware that Kim was involved. Was that around the signage?
Sorry, I'm reading things and talking at the same time. It never goes well. I apologize. This is Westwood. Tara, there we go.
Gotcha.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
I don't think it's a new update from the last time. The last time I met with Tara, she was looking at options for the actual recycling containers that would work in the Westwood space. I know she's still looking to get that going. She was hoping by the end of the year, but I think it's more likely a target for the start of next year on that program. But she was researching options for kind of kiosk mobile that they could pull out to an area as the students were finished with each lunch wave that had the 3 recycling bins and the appropriate signage. That was the
Yeah.
last I heard.
Okay, thank you, Sam. All right, moving on to littering signs and adopt the road. I know this was something that Talia had brought up some meetings ago. I know we've discussed it. We haven't gone back and forth a little bit. I know what Patty, you had talked about sometimes it makes it worse, and I would probably hold it on the agenda for another meeting and then see if anybody wants to take, if Talia wants to take a little bit of a initiative to kind of get into this a little bit more, or if we, you know, look at taking it from the agenda if we're not going to do anything with it. So, are there
Johnny,
any thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
Talia's got on in the middle of our meeting.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, sorry, I joined like 5 minutes late. I apologize. But yeah, I think that makes sense. I think that another piece we had discussed was maybe considering another townwide cleanup day. I know there's always one in April. I think we talked about like, would there be a possibility of doing one like in October as well? Kind of in lieu of having there be those signs, those no littering signs. So I don't recall where that landed. I know I wasn't able to be at the last couple of meetings, but does anyone recall that as something we had put out there as an option?
I think what we had discussed was doing a not necessarily 2 cleanup days, but doing the townwide cleanup day and then doing like a concentrated cleanup day of one spot in the fall. And I think I remember, I can look back at our minutes, but I believe that was the discussion that the committee had of just focusing on an area like a park or a section of a busy road or something like that to try and
Got it.
clean up some of the areas that might be harder to get to on a normal basis.
So, what I would say then is let's for the next one, let's remove this at this point, and then let's get through our townwide cleanup. And I think we could discuss something for the fall and plan it out. And maybe there's a combination of the two. You know, we talked about adopting or sponsoring, and maybe we find that one partner that sponsors with Green Efforts to, you know, maybe kick in a couple of prizes if we get to the one spot or something. I don't know, but I think we could dig into that after we get through the townwide for next month. Everybody all right with
I'm
that?
supportive of that. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So one thing I wanted to add before we just move on, is that usually adopt a road signs have a large business adopting a part of a highway. And it might be interesting if we could find out who the people who do a lot of pickup on cleanup day, if they'd like to adopt a road for themselves, so the private citizens would have a road adopted to them. I know on the trail, the bike trail, they have individual citizens who sign up for sections of the trail.
Right,
And-
like you do, John.
And thank you.
Yeah.
But it might be interesting to see if there are individuals, especially the individuals who do a lot of pickup for cleanup day, if they'd like to adopt a road, especially their own road. So that might be a possibility once we see how the results are from cleanup day.
That's a good idea. I know when we talked in the past about the businesses, if there was a sign and your name's on it, you're gonna be more apt to make sure it's always clean. It was the accountability factor that we were jumping on, but I think if that's a way for us to spread the committee out and get, you know, even if it's a half dozen to a dozen people to adopt an area. I know, you know, even me in the Highlands, I run up Highwood Road probably once a month with my kids because there's a nice area of open space behind my house and to the left on the other side of the road that seems to accumulate a lot of nippers and, you know, sources of alcohol bottles. And we probably pick up a couple of small bags worth every month and we go up there. And sometimes it's easier between the leaves and the, you know, when it gets to be too late in the fall, the leaves cover everything. So it's hard to find them until they get uncovered later in the next year. So I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I think maybe when we start to discuss maybe rolling out some kind of program that way, I think would be great.
So we can get the Highland Road sign that says Johnny Carrier adopted this road.
Absolutely. Johnny Carrier and kids. I have an army behind me. All right. All right. Good discussion. We'll elaborate on that. Garrett, we put that in the hopper and we'll get that on the agenda right after the cleanup day and start to get into that. That'd be great.
No problem. I'll just slide that over to the main agenda.
Okay. Moving on. So town cleanup day. And I missed the last meeting, so I apologize if we want to jump in where we are on that.
So I wrote a couple blurbs for the town newsletter about recycling and rummage sale and cleanup day, and they did not make it in. So in terms of the yard sale, so it didn't make it into the town newsletter. I don't have the bandwidth to do both events. Like I just can't. Like my new job is insane. So unless someone on this committee wants to like take it on and be that person, we haven't put any information out there yet because that didn't go in. Like we can either drop it or someone else can be like, this is my jam and I want to do it.
What are the thoughts of the committee? Does anybody have that extra time to do that? Well, let me ask you this, Stacy, are we back at the high school for this one or are we back at IAR like we were last year?
So in theory it would be at IAR, but I haven't even asked them for the space. I mean, it's a rubber stamp, like you just have to submit the proposal to use the parking lot and then they don't respond to you. And then you reach out to Garrett and you ask Garrett to actually ask them. And then they tell Garrett yes, and then you have the space. But
I
then
already have the form.
a sign up genius has to be made, and then advertising, which we all know is like marketing and advertising is like that's not my strength. And so I'm just looking at the fact that we're like 5 weeks away and I am trying to be realistic about my commitments and abilities and not lose sleep over it. So we only did it once. If it goes away, no one will notice. If we do it again, it'll get momentum and we can do it every year for the rest of our lives.
No pressure.
And this fits on my cleanup that we're talking about, Stacy?
The rummage sale / yard sale to go along with, like in my mind, when I had a part-time job that was like totally low stress, it was going to be like Earth Day was going to be Farmington does all the things for the Earth Day. But now that I have a super stressful full-time job, like that, my visions have to be
All right. So, I mean, at this point, I guess, and obviously it's too much to ask, Stacy, and I could totally appreciate having limited time. So does anybody on the committee think they have the time to put into this? And that's obviously we're asking now because after this meeting, it's too late anyways. If not, then maybe this is something we plan for the fall, where we do an every other. I mean, we're talking about doing something in the spring and something in the fall. Maybe we do the cleanup in the spring and we do the rummage sale in the fall and we focus back and forth.
So the other thing, I know that cleanup day is always like spring is a good time to do cleanup, blah, blah, blah. But I was thinking about shifting the main cleanup to fall so that we can really incorporate the high school green team, because you can't really get anything out of these clubs in the spring because the seniors who lead it are graduating and they're noping right out. And those are the ones in charge. So I was thinking like if we shifted it to the fall, I'm always trying to think about like I have kids who desperately looked for volunteer opportunities and had a really hard time. And so like, I feel like we need people to do these things, but asking them in the spring is not great. So if we shifted some of our main things that required volunteers to the fall, we might get kids who need to slap a couple of things on their college applications. We might get juniors who are like, oh crap, I have a year. So I don't know if we want to think about sort of shifting this to be a fall thing and getting those kids, getting a high school junior, like creating a space on this committee for a high school junior who's involved with the Green Club at the high school, and having them commit to sitting here and being part of it. They're the ones who, I don't know. That's my soapbox.
And you think that, and obviously for the kids, then you think they're more apt to help on the cleanup, because I don't know how much they could do with the yard sale without just promoting it and, help run it. But as far as volunteering time there, I think their time would be a lot more useful towards townwide cleanup. So I think you're right on that.
Yeah, I do know part of the reason for the spring is to try to clean up after the winter, and having if it's timed right, which isn't always possible, being able to do the cleanup when there isn't leaves on the plants makes it easier to see what's there. But I definitely agree that trying to get some buy-in from high school students would be beneficial. And I agree with Stacy. I think as the parent of a kid who's the president of a couple clubs, there's a lot of momentum in the fall to do stuff and to plan stuff. And right now it's, do I want to do anything else? So.
Or just a committee that's strapped for people with time. And then there's these children with time who want to do things.
Yeah, it kind of makes me think, like, is that the focus between now and whatever date is more the cultivation and outlets for like proactive engagement with whatever those groups or additional hands may be. And by the way, I mentioned to Garrett, I need to hop for school, and I will have more free time after May when I graduate.
Congratulations!
Yay, Jen! Good job, Jennifer.
We got 2 more months. I haven't passed all of that. It's good to see you all, and I'll catch you next time.
Right. Okay.
Thank you, Jen. So I think that with the lack of someone to step up, I guess at this point, then maybe we hold off on the yard sale and we kind of plan out if we're going to do a shift or not.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
at least from like the town perspective, I would say, I think the point of the cleanup in April was to coincide with Earth Day, and it does
Right.
coincide with Earth Day this year, but in and around that time, not conflicting with fall sports, because I think usually it's at a time where at least for like the younger kids, they're either just starting or starting like that day. So I know first day of soccer is usually kind of coinciding over at Tungus Mead with the rec department. I think it's kind of been set that the hazardous waste in Farmington is in and around that time. I know we try to schedule it for the same day. It didn't happen this year. Hazardous waste will be in March instead of April this year, along with the shred event that we do as part of our municipal stormwater permit requirements. I think that's the reason why it's always been in April, is because we're trying to coincide it, and it's not competing with football and all the other fall sports that are normally taking up the family's time.
That's a good point. All right. So
But can we just explore what it would take to get a high schooler seat on this committee starting in the fall? And maybe a junior. Because then they have the
I
whole
will
year.
look into that to see what would be needed. I'm sure it's probably a change of the bylaws. I just got to dig into that a little bit.
They
Um,
can't vote. They're not 18, so I'm not really sure how that works.
no, but to have a representative that sits there and has input because, and I think it could be more loose than that, could be any appointed person from that club that's
Yeah.
willing to do it. I don't think it necessarily has to be a junior or senior, because if you get a junior one year, then maybe we get someone for, a little continuity for a couple of years straight.
Yeah,
But I'll look into that with Garrett and with, the bylaws and stuff. For the next meeting, I'll make a note of that.
these kids have so much passion, and so coming to these meetings just to listen is super scary. But if we say there's a seat available, you can apply for it. Maybe
Well-
we'll get,
Even coordinating with the Green Club where they will have someone be appointed as a liaison from the club.
yeah, that's what I'm
Correct.
saying.
That might be,
Yeah.
that might be the easiest option.
Right, yeah, rather than a voting member.
Right, and I don't know how our meetings interfere with sports and things like that. That's normal. I don't know what that. I don't have children, and I don't have children in Farmington High School, so
I
don't know.
7
Yeah.
o'clock.
Not a
is
lot
bad
of
time.
sports at 7 p.m.
So sports interfere with everything and everything interferes with sports. I can tell you that. And I've only got 3 of them that are in it so far. So
Oh,
and one of them just came back from crew and was knocking on the door behind me. So. All right, Stacy, one question. I know last year you had a sign up, I think it was Sign Up Genius or one of those. Do we have that going on this year as well?
I don't have that done, and I don't have the poster. As I don't know, for those of you who were on the committee when I agreed to lead this, I said that I don't want to ask any businesses for any things. And so in the past, for the heaviest haul, other members of the committee have said, I will ask all the businesses for all the things. I'm in the favor of just like having people come out and clean up because they want to. But usually the poster has the donors to the heaviest haul prizes on it. So the question is, do others want to go hustle? Kate usually hustles. She's not here tonight, but do we want prizes? And if so, who's going to ask for them otherwise? I mean, I don't know that people come out just for the prizes, but
So I don't know why my computer's screen seems to go going nuts. I can take that on. I know enough of the businesses in town that I could probably make calls within a couple of days and get, 3, 4 of them to pitch in. I know I did a little bit last year.
it was great.
It was after
Appreciated
the
it.
poster
Thank
was
you.
done, but I do think it's a good thing just because it shows appreciation. Personally, it's, for the businesses, they're doing it because they want to give back, not necessarily they want the recognition. But I can handle that. I would just need to know if my time frame is basically by Monday, then I can make that happen.
Yeah, we should probably get it. March just crept up. I should probably get it done. I should get a draft.
Okay,
you
so
guys.
I'll work with Garrett. I'll secure 2 or 3 businesses and
Okay.
some prizes, some kind of gift cards, maybe restaurant type stuff.
Thank you.
And I'll get that to Garrett by Monday.
Okay,
And then that way, if you start working on the poster over the weekend, we'll have everything to finalize and touch it up. Does that
thank you
work?
so much. And then I will add the Lions can thing, John.
Good. I was wondering what was going to happen with that, because I think that's really could be a bigger thing, not necessarily this year, but on years come. And I'm also going to talk to the Lions Club about them getting a team together to participate in the actual cleanup.
Great.
But most important, if we're going to try to connect with the Lions Club to have them pick up cans and bottles to bring to their program, it's really important for us to take steps to get people who are going to do our cleanup to separate bottles and cans from other garbage. And I think that I know just from picking up things in the past, usually I just throw everything in one bag and I finish that bag, I move on to the next. And so it's a little bit of extra time to keep things separated. But I really think that we can get a lot of money raised for charities through the Lions Club if people will simply keep bottles and cans separate from all the trash. So I think that there's a couple of things that are important. One is when we put out our publicity flyer, whether electronic or printed, if we put something in there that says we'd like people to keep bottles and cans pickup separate so they can be donated to the Lions Club. That'd be one thing. The second thing is that if we make the people who are going to be at the sites, who are handing out bags and signing in people, for them to be aware that this program is kind of in effect. And instead of just giving a person one bag, you give people 2 bags and ask them to put bottles and cans in a separate bag. And I'm not sure how well that will work. We've never done that before. But I'd like to try it out, and I think that would be a good way to get the Lions Club involved in this cleanup.
Thoughts on that, Stacy, or the others that have done this more years than I have? Is it something that you think we can
I've
articulate?
actually never been a trash picker upper person, so I don't know how dirty and gross the cans are or how many there are, but I definitely think we should also tell people they can bring cans to the sites for the Lions Club.
Yeah. I know my cans used to just go in my recycling because I don't want to go to the effort. So.
Did you say that there's some sort of prize situation associated with this, or was that a different topic?
No, same thing. It's
Largest
Stacey.
haul. So if you brought a bunch of cans from your house, it wouldn't be weighed as part of the heaviest haul.
Got it. Okay.
I
Yeah, I'm
agree.
just trying to think of incentives. Thank you.
But if you have cans and bottles at your house, I can tell you from my experience, it's very easy to bring them to the Lions Club.
I can attest to that. I do it like once a month. They make it real easy. You drop it off near the shed in the back right corner.
Yep.
You try to be nice and make sure they're clean or somewhat clean. The hard part, Stacy, from the little bit that I've done, because I've never done the townwide stuff. My daughter has done it through Girl Scouts. But the cleanup that I do up and down the road, they're usually nasty. There's still stuff in there. Like it's not that friendly. I'll put it that way. And then most of the time, unless it's something that just happened, they're either crushed or bent and they're very hard to recycle. I mean, other than putting them in just like a recycling stream, they're very hard to actually bring and turn back in. That's what I found. Like a lot of the labels are gone because they've been sitting there through a spring or a fall season. So it might be easier for this one just to throw something on there that you could bring your bottles and cans from home, or if you want to, we can make it available. Basically, just kind of get that word out. I think might be easier. Because I know for us, like I don't try to, we go through and it's almost all bottles and cans. I hate to say that, and then I put them in my recycling bin. And because at the end of the day, unless it's a small piece of trash, I'll just throw it to the side. But it's typically when I go up my road, it's like 80% bottles, and maybe it's just my road. Maybe we just drink a lot in the Highlands. I don't know.
I will second that though. Over near on Town Farm Road, same exact situation. Mostly bottles, cans, Gatorade, but mostly alcohol.
So the one thing I would let everybody know is that the Lions Club is very experienced in turning in cans for deposit. And if they have a crush can that wouldn't fit in the machine at ShopRite, that crush can be turned in by the Lions Club to get a deposit. So they're not as strict as other things. If you have a can, no matter what condition, that has a deposit on it, the Lions Club can get 5 cents, and that can go to charity. So when you go out walking in the Highlands, or walking Brickyard Road, or if there's a crush can, a can in any condition, we can turn that into the Lions Club, and they can get 5 cents for it. And that's what we need to get people to understand, that they don't have to have perfect cans or bottles. It's any can or bottle that has a deposit on it can be turned into the Lions Club.
That's good to know. And John, part of the reason why I dropped them off the Lions Club is because a lot of the IPAs or wherever you go for a bottle, if they don't sell it, they don't take it back. A lot of them get kicked back out. It got to be such a hassle. You're going there and you're getting maybe half to go through. That's why, I mean, I actually lay like 10 pieces of paper towel at the bottom just to kind of soak up anything that might be left for someone that's not being nice. And then I put it in the bag and then I bring it over because it might be a month or so. So that's good to know. Let's get, when we do the poster, then Stacy, maybe we just do something about Lions Club bottle pickup. Bring your bottles and cans and then leave it. I would just leave it generic. So maybe some people take them from the side of the road and bring them, or they bring them from their house. But if we can get some, I think that'd be great. Anything else on the, so getting back to that, are we going to do the Sign Up Genius again? Is that something you have time to do?
Yeah, I will do that.
Okay, perfect. I'll work on the donations. Now, in the past, you said, I think from last year, I think you guys remember saying that like a restaurant gift card, those types of things. But if I go to like one of the auto body places, like a free oil change or $25 off your next repair, like does that work too? Is that, I go to my man Gary over at the jewelry store, and he's not going to give me any diamonds, but he's he'll give me a gift certificate.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we've always gone, Johnny, anything we can get, we'll take.
Okay.
And I think when the prize has gone to, a youth group, we may not be giving them an oil change coupon, but
Right.
Understood.
I'm looking at the poster from last year. It was Farmington Miniature Golf and Ice Cream Parlor, which I'm sure he's still happy to do that. Fork and Fire and Naples and Highland Park Market, I think, was the other one that we've gotten. And I think you donated something last year, Johnny, if I remember correctly. I think, but it was too late to be included on the poster, if I remember.
Yeah, no, I remember that. I think it was some wooden tap gift certificates.
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the grocery stores work well, whether it be Highland Park or Stop and Shop.
Okay.
They're good donors.
All right. I'll touch base with Garrett and I'll see who knows who over there that we can get through pretty quickly. But I'll work on that this week. And like I said, I'll get some stuff for Monday. All right.
Great, thank you.
Anything else on the cleanup day?
I think we have to approve spending money on stickers to change the date on the post on the
Yeah.
lawns.
Do you know how much those cost, Stacy? I haven't.
I thought, no.
Nothing from Kate.
I thought so, but now I'm thinking maybe she wasn't at the last meeting either, so maybe it was supposed to be me to ask
So
her.
what if we just do, if we do a motion that says we authorize up to a certain amount just to kind of cover it, and then that way we're covered from a motion standpoint, and obviously we're not, giving an open checkbook. I was at $150 is, I don't know how many stickers, signs, that kind of stuff.
Does anyone
Up to
have quick
100,000.
access to last year's minutes?
I don't remember there being an expenditure last year, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Let me see.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't.
yeah, I only I remember expenditures for grabbers in years past.
Yeah,
I wonder if sometimes
last year we bought trash bags. Maybe grabbers last year. I'll pass. Let's see. February, June, January, February, March, April. All right. Anti-angling waste reduction.
April.
Nope.
Nothing in.
Just the
Nothing
purchase
from-
of the trash bags is all I'm seeing for the last year. So I don't know if maybe Kate just handled it on
Yeah,
her own or
So for the purposes of, because we're lacking that, and obviously we can't wait till the next meeting to order these.
Right.
right.
Let's just authorize an expenditure up to 500 to cover bags, stickers and grabbers. And I mean, I can't see it costing more than that.
Yep.
And then I'll touch base with Garrett and we'll follow up with Kate and what we have, because we may have some left over.
We definitely have bags left over. I think I bought 6 boxes last year. It was a lot of bags. We should be set for a couple of years for that.
Okay,
So, okay, I found it. It was February 1 last year. We authorized up to $500 on stickers and bags.
Okay, and I think I only
Alright.
dealt with the bags because we ordered through WB Mason, so I'll check with Kate. But $500 is more than enough for stickers, and I'll give Kate a call because everything's at her house to see if she thinks we need bags.
okay. So do you want to make that as a motion, Stacy, or I'll take that as it was a motion?
I will make a motion to approve up to $500 for stickers and bags.
All right, thank you. Can I get a second?
second,
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 John, I thought I heard you say something with 1,000 after it in the comments there.
Well, I was thinking about 100,000, just in case the stickers went up in price. But
Apparently the stickers are made of gold.
That's funny. All right. So anything else to wrap up on cleanup day, other than, I know if I'm remembering from last year, we also had, committee, like who's going to be manning which post, that kind of stuff. Do we have like a sign up for that as well? For
That'll be
doing
on the sign
handing
up
out?
too.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Um,
Okay.
I just have a couple. So do we want to keep using IAR for the collection site? Since the high school is not being used for hazardous waste this year?
So I think it was good to stretch it out, and I think the like the Unionville and FHS were too close together, and I think it was good to like push people to that part of town. So I'm in favor of that, but I guess we need to ask IAR still.
Yep, so I've got the form. The Park and Rec director wanted me to do a public event permit as well, just so everyone's aware. So I'll coordinate with you, Stacy, for your contact information.
Okay.
Because you're the one running cleanup, that's all. I just want to put you in as being the contact, but I'll put in my information as the liaison.
Okay.
And then we'll get that all set for the building use form, for the parking lot, and for the public event permit. Next, if people / groups are looking to participate in cleanup day, do you want me to just give them your information, or? All right, just wanted to check because I already
Yeah.
had someone from Tunxus reach out to me this week.
Great.
And I told her I would talk to you at this meeting.
Great.
So I'll send you an email tomorrow with her. And I think there was a Boy Scout group too. I don't know remember if you were on those emails.
Yep, Sally.
I think she sent one last. Yep, you were on that email. Okay.
Okay, and then, Patty, you
just the
mentioned
one-
something about a Facebook page. Is that something you could post on that?
yep, I can do that.
Perfect. John?
So just so I'm clear, the places we're having the people drop off is Tungus Mead, Farmington Fire Department, Irving Robbins, and Tungus Mead.
And you said Tungus Mead twice, so it's the Mead.
Tunxus Hose.
Tungus Firehouse.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we used last year. So the first Firehouse, IAR, Tunxus Hose, and Tunxus Mead.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, unless there's anything else on that, we'll move on to the EV charger update. Garrett?
Yep, I've gotten in the quotes, and they came in a little higher than expected because the best connection point for the chargers next to the Staples house is a new electrical service, so that drives up the cost. I need to coordinate with our finance department and with Russ Arnold, and exploring some options to see whether we still want to pursue this, given the high cost, or if we want to hold off as part of a and do it as part of a project connected to the high school construction. But we need to find out some more information about the grant program first, how long that will last before making a decision. So just a heads up on there. So we might fall the back burner for a little while just to hold off until there's a site that might be a little cheaper per charger, is the way I would put it. I'm sure the high school would be more than just 2 chargers, or the redevelopment of the high school would be more than just 2 chargers. So it would increase the cost, but on a per charger cost, it would reduce it. Given the infrastructure cost that's currently required for installation.
So what we're exploring, Garrett, without diving in, because there's still a lot of questions. The high cost of getting it ready for one charger and our one-time use of the grant program, we're seeing that maybe there's a chance that we could get a better bang for our buck trying to get into the high school area. I know it was mentioned at one point, but Sam and I were told at one point that there was car chargers part of the project, and we were pretty excited. And then it came out a few months later that it was car charger prep. So they were bringing, the services were there, the pipes were there, but the car chargers themselves weren't there. So that threw us a little bit for a loop. So I've been working on it from the building committee side. I'm on the weekly working group stuff, and that's part of our discussion. So there's a lot more to it than that. It was just a little early to jump into it. I think by next meeting or the meeting after, we should have a better handle on this.
All right.
We'll have more.
Yeah, just so everyone, so one of the quotes I got, the make ready cost was almost the same cost as 2 chargers, and that was including work that the town would do to reduce that cost. So it came in higher than expected. So trying to look to reduce those costs if possible. But like I said, we're going to wait and see. I'm trying to contact Eversource to get some more information about the grant program before we do anything further and make any decisions.
Is it possible to ask Rose Ponte to reach out to the businesses in town to ask them if they would like to put in a charger that would be available to the public?
Eversource did that as part of their grant announcement. So there's public charger incentives. You have to, it's pretty much the same grant program disbursement of $20,000 refunded to you. I'm trying to remember. I think if that was at a workplace, you had to install a minimum of 4 chargers. If it was public, you just have to install 2 chargers. And there was one other category where you only had to install 2 chargers. But if it was a workplace, like an office, they'd have to install 4 in order to get the grant program. But a business like Stop and Shop could only would have to install 2 in order to qualify the grant program, is my understanding.
So it's Rose seemed to have a very good connection with the local businesses. So I'm thinking that having her reach out might have a positive effect, despite the grant programs, or in addition to the grant programs. I'm thinking if Rose endorsed this idea, that would have an impact.
I agree that Rose has a great relationship with the businesses. I'll also add that a couple of years ago, we tried to leverage a relationship for something else, and she was reluctant. So,
I mean,
I just, want to set that expectation that she really put I don't remember what it was, but she really put the brakes on it. And I was a little surprised, but she didn't want, I think it was that she didn't want to overextend her welcome with the businesses. So I think she was walking that tightrope.
Yeah, that would be my first guess. But John, is this more for like raising some money to help us with this, or more just outreach for them to do it in their own places?
Right. So I'm thinking like businesses in town may want to put in chargers for their own employees to have electrical vehicles charged. And if they could just simply open up that to the public, it might get people being brought in towards their company that they didn't expect. And whether it be a retail business or a non-retail business, it would give a good publicity to a firm like Jefferson Lab. So if Jefferson Lab had some chargers and they offered them out to the public, that gives the public a good feeling for Jackson Lab, and that would be helpful.
I will say that the grant program has been heavily advertised. I know we looked at it for an association that we're midstream of building over on the east side of town. And 2 chargers could be done on like one pedestal where you take 2 parking spots and it puts it in one spot. So it's not necessarily you got to run 2 sets of pipes. And I know that, you know, a lot of the electrical contractors push this around. I think I will say this, like, I know we could try to push some effort on this. But honestly, the effort that we're pushing, we're kind of a rounding error in that from our standpoint, only because in my industry, this is, you know, one of the big talks. You know, I'm in a process of getting started a 10 townhouse community that's going to be all electric. You know, no gas or natural gas or anything, all electric, and it's going to have a charging station in the parking lot, and some of the garages are going to be there. So there's tons and tons of rebates, grants, and push from every level of the government at this point, pushing this. So I fear that our effort will basically be unnoticed if even going down that road. I think this train's leaving the station, whether we're behind it or not. I guess the best way to put it.
I have a question. It's kind of tangential. And so this committee is a joint committee of town council and board of ed. It doesn't have a TPZ component to my recollection and understanding. But I wonder if there's some process by which, I mean, what Hartford did in terms of revising all of their regulations is they required EV chargers in their parking lots, and they required bus park or bike parking and a whole number of other things to create green living in town. And when they rewrote their entire zoning regulations, I wonder if there's a way to liaise with TPZ in some way and kind of build it into, I mean, Johnny, you can tell me how ridiculous this is as you're a builder, but whether it makes sense if there's a way to build chargers into our zoning ordinances.
So, I mean, I'm your liaison to the planning and zoning department, obviously. I don't think it's something we've talked about at all. I know there was some discussion there's a planners listserv through Yukon that someone had brought it up, and there's some kind of a few mixed reactions, just given the you know, it's not necessarily cheap. You need a certain amount of electrical power, and then, you know, is it the 1,000 square foot jewelry store that's got to put in 2 chargers versus the 50,000 square foot grocery store? I think finding that cost benefit can be harder. I will say that at least with, well, I'll start, it's not like Farmington is going to have a lot of large developments anymore. We've got all the large pieces are pretty well built out, and then a lot of the businesses or new residential developments see the EV chargers as an incentive for employees. So for example, the Midpoint development, which is the old McAllen building behind Meineke, right? Yeah, on Farmington Avenue, just on the other side of the Big Bird Bridge. Their plan showed, I think it was a 1-2 port charger at every other building as part of their site development plan. We didn't require it. Obviously, it's not in the zoning regulations. That was kind of, they put that in there in order to attract residents to the future development. So I think at least for businesses and I don't want to say higher end residential, but for the new residential developments that we'll likely see, I think they're just including the chargers by default as a amenity for the potential residents or employees. I know a number of office buildings in town have installed EV chargers. 1690 New Britain Avenue, which is where Mott is moving, already has chargers. There's a few properties that have already installed them as kind of an incentive for their employees.
Is there a way to
site.
sorry, Garrett, is there a way to build it in with incentives for public use? So not so much require it, but some type of incentive. I mean, I don't know what the town can do.
I don't think that's within the power of the Planning and Zoning Commission
Probably
from the
not.
state.
Probably not. I'm just, thinking.
Right. I mean, it's one thing when it's a subdivision and we're requiring open space to be set aside, and
So a lot of that is state statute too. So
Right.
the open space stuff is in the land use statutes.
right, it's permitted.
And you get it, like Garrett said, I echo a lot, but if you remember like the automatic doors or for ADA, it was one thing when you're building new, but when you're a business trying to retrofit, there's a whole different cost structure that gets to something like that. And I think what planning and zoning, that's, someone's coming in for a site plan or some kind of change of use, but they may not necessarily be building it from new, I think starts to pose some problems. That said, the public use is going to be tough because a lot of these places are private properties, this and that. I do know that, from the state level, I know a lot of public funded projects are being mandated to have, parking spots ready, or at least EV ready, substructure for anywhere for 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 10 parking spaces and stuff like that. But those are your major shopping centers, those types of areas that we're seeing. We've seen this at the codes committee. I don't know if I've ever mentioned, but I chair the codes and standards. We pass all the building codes for Connecticut. And we've always shied away with it because it's a public policy thing, not a code thing. We tell you how to build it if you're going to build it, but not if you have to build it. So there's kind of a little bit different path there. But like I said, through that and all the stuff we do there, I do get, I do see, like I said, a big shift going there. From our side of the residential, I know it's a different business partner, but my family, we did a 30 unit in Bristol. We added a car charger. The commission had asked and we obliged. So I know there's a lot of that going on, but I don't know of any zoning regs that actually require it. There may be some, I don't know them all, but I think that might be a tough thing to pass. But that said, I think the education of it, the all electric property that I'm doing now is trying to read through the BS of, you read a lot of data and equipment and costs. And at the end of the day, until you do it, you don't really know. And we're reading through some of that now, but I'm talking to builders and developers left and right, both single family and multifamily, and they're all looking at this. And Eversource rebates have been massively ramped up for this too. So I think it's, like I said, it's something that's set in motion at this point. And I do think that you're going to see a big change in the next 5 years.
I'll just share this. So there's currently a pending application in front of Planning and Zoning for a gas station at the corner of Burlington Road and Plainville Avenue. It's that old garage building that used to be a gas station. Well, they're looking to reopen it as a gas station, and they included 4 electric vehicle chargers. And it's a Shell branded station, and there's Shell branded electric vehicle chargers that'll be included as part of the project. So again, it's kind of an incentive so that, Shell has the charger, you plug in, you go in the convenience store, you buy a coffee or something while you're waiting for it to charge or something like that. So I think at least for a lot of businesses, they'll do it on their own if they can justify the cost.
On our end, on the residential, because it's so inexpensive to do it on a new build in your private garage and
Right.
convenient, that, that's where even our association at Yorkshire, we decided against it because, for, the cost for a homeowner from our end to run and prep everything for the chargers, like 900 to 1,050. I mean, I mean, it's still a cost, but when you're building a house of, 500, 600,000, running a cable out there that's ready for a level 2, adaptable at any time, it's pretty inexpensive. And the convenience of being in the garage has been the big thing. So you look at where people are leaving and where they're going, and they're going to the shopping centers, or they're going to work, or they're going back home. So, and then the gas stations, it's good that they're doing it. It'd be nice to see people doing that. And then maybe there's a nice area to hang out and drink coffee and have something to eat. But we've seen on the residential end being more in the garages. All right, we'll have more info on that, on the charger stuff. Does anybody else have anything to add, either new or old business, before we move to adjournment?
I know Kate had sent email about a new member, but that might be a town council.
Yep, I emailed her separately just because I didn't want to, everyone to get notified. So we have at least one spot open currently. Basically, so if anyone knows of anyone interested in joining the commission or the committee, that person needs to reach out to the chair of their respective political party, or both chairs if they're unaffiliated, in order to be nominated at a town council meeting to be appointed, because that's how it works.
There's also a link though in CJ's chair updates from town council that says click here if you want to join a committee. And I don't think that goes to the town committees, to the DTC or the RTC.
Right, I think that might go to the clerk's office. Like, let's see.
Yeah, I mean, I reached out to the guys on the Republican side, and then just followed up with people in the process, and then the registrar the same. So yeah, I mean, I don't do it now, and it's been a while, but I know the process for not just Green Efforts, but for any committee is to reach out, like he said, and then you go to your respective parties, you get screened, so they deem you to be somewhat normal. And then and then you get nominated. So at the council, we probably nominate 1 or 2 every meeting for all the various boards and commissions as people move on or move out of town, or their terms are up, et cetera, et cetera. So we're working on that. I know we're actually short 2 people. There's one kind of sitting in limbo. And that's part of the reason we've had some quorum issues. But Garrett and I were chatting a little bit before the meeting started. So we're on top of that.
Do you just, because I've been asked, and I know that it's, the whole minority rule of or whatever the rule is, majority rule, minority. What's our current R's versus D's on the committee? Like, are we limited by which party can be a new member right now?
That's up to the party.
I don't know specifically for Green Efforts, but I know that a lot of them do have that designation.
Yeah, every committee does, and this
Right.
Green Efforts does. I don't know what our current breakdown is.
I can find out on that. Let me make a note.
'Cause I think that's also, Johnny, part of the reason why you were chair, because at least that's what CJ told me, is that we couldn't have another Democrat on the committee.
That's not the story I got. I said,
Yeah, that's not the story I heard.
the bylaws are basically written in a way where whoever the liaison for the council is.
Oh,
and
no, I mean, why
chair.
you were the town council person who became, not why you're chair versus someone else.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot what I was
No,
gonna
I'm not saying that you took chair. I'm just saying that's my, at some point, that's what I was told.
I know in the past, not just here, but inland conservation, wetlands, we've appointed unaffiliateds.
Yeah.
Numerous times in the past too, because at the end of the day, not everybody wants to be affiliated to a party, and that leaves out a big majority of people. So we have, within our Republican Party, have screened unaffiliateds quite a bit. And put some up, and I know the Democrats have as well. So
yeah, and I know one of the members of Green Efforts, who's no longer on the committee, actually changed parties so that he couldn't be nominated because his affiliation was whatever party had control at that point, had already had their max seats. So
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if that applies as much for Green Efforts. I know Unionville, there's 8 members and 6 of them are unaffiliated. So I don't think it depends on,
It's-
yeah, like you said, it
I don't
depends on
think
whose
it's by
party.
party designation. I think it's party, who puts them up.
Right,
So I think
exactly.
it has to do with who actually nominates them, and I kind of think it's a lot of hogwash, but that's just my own 2 cents.
It's, I've reviewed the rule a lot. It's based on, it is party designation, but it's just, you can't have, you can have unaffiliated. It's, you just can't have everyone on the, like, it's D versus R is what it boils down to. And you can't have more than a certain number of either party. So the U's can dominate if they want to.
Nothing wrong with that. All right.
It's been my observation that the Green Efforts Committee has never been very political. We've been
Right.
more interested in getting the environment ready.
Mhm.
And so I think we should continue to do that. And the most important thing about bringing somebody into the committee is if they're interested in saving the environment.
Right, which,
So either party.
yes, it's just making sure we don't violate whatever the ordinance is, whatever that says we can and can't do.
Right. If I could change the subject before we leave here. Is there any move going to be to take this committee off of Zoom and having us be able to meet people in public? I find it very strange that I'm on a committee that I've not met people on it. I just meet them on Zoom.
Honestly, I was thinking the same thing. I know, obviously, there's the convenience of doing it this way. I also feel there's less accountability when, it's harder to stare people in the eye when, I say I'm gonna have something by Monday and then Monday comes and it's not done. So,
I can
but-
add it to our agenda for the next month that we can
yeah,
have a discussion then, just,
we can discuss that. I know there's still a couple other committees that are running, but I think planning and zoning is still by Zoom.
planning and zoning, inland wetlands, Unionville Historic, bicycle advisory. I think Farmington Historic went back to in person, and zoning board of appeals is looking to go back in person in April.
So let's put it up.
yeah.
I mean, I'm a fan of majority rules, so we put it up for a good discussion and we vote. And we go that way, and I think it's fine. The other thing I would say is then maybe there's a way to do hybrid too, because the ones that went back in person aren't, I don't know, maybe the committee members all have to be there. I don't know. Gary, maybe
Yeah.
you could just kind of see what the other committees are doing.
Yeah, I'll just put it on as an agenda item for next month, and we can talk about it next month.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you, guys. Can I get a motion to adjourn
Motion.
in a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
Everyone, good night.
Thank you.
No,
Bye.